welcome to Bonus Action Heroes Read RPG Reddit stories. You can also listen to this in podcast format. Just search for Bonus Action Heroes wherever you get your podcasts. This week's stories feature healers who don't heal. Am I the asshole for not healing the whole party? This is from RD&D and the user One with the Tiny Dragon. I've become my party's de facto healer, but it seems like this one character abuses this and puts himself in danger or starts fights on purpose, then expects me to heal him if he goes down or is hurt. I've told him many times in the last few months that he can't keep playing like this and expect me to waste spell slots to heal him. 2 games ago, I let him go down and didn't heal him until his last death save. I told him I wouldn't be saving him in battles he instigated. Last game, we were trying to stealth into a building and he ran away from the party and went somewhere he knew there were guards. Obviously, a fight broke out and he went down hard. I refused to heal him as I said I would, and another character used a healing potion to keep him from dying. Now the party is divided on this issue, some saying it doesn't matter how we get hurt, I need to keep the party alive. The others agree and are sick of him putting himself in danger and expecting us to save him. Edit. I play a druid, not a cleric.
Yeah, I don't think they're the asshole.
I don't think they're the asshole.
No, I think that other player is the asshole and is not a team player. That sounds like one of those, that's what my character would do stories. I can imagine the player is just not understanding that actions should have consequences and they're expecting it to just do what they want and everyone else to bail them out every time. I've played in games with chaotic, stupid characters, let's call them what they are, who just charge in at every opportunity, don't stop to think. And ultimately it's okay to have a stupid character. It's okay to have a character who maybe is a bit reckless, but you still have a duty to the game to play as a team player and not spoil other people's enjoyment. And it sounds like this player is hogging all the limelight, is taking everything in a direction they want to go, and then expecting the other players to just pick them up when it goes wrong. It just feels annoying. I've been there. We've all been there, right? It's not fun for anyone but that player.
Yeah, no, I'm in total agreement. They're looking at not thinking of the consequences because they don't have to deal with the consequences. Another player does. And that's essentially choosing what that player has to do for them, which is limiting their enjoyment of how they play their character. Like, no one wants to... I think we've all had healers that don't heal, but that's because they have other utility. Those fireballs can be amazing, really useful. They don't just have to heal.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of options in modern D&D. Yeah, perhaps in earlier editions, you had a cleric, and that was probably your main healer. They were designed to heal. But in modern D&D, it's a bit like an MMO that there shouldn't be any requirement for someone to play a healer unless they want to. There's potions, there's lots of different classes of healing, paladins, druids, rangers. So many classes have healers. I think there's even a warlock build that has healing now, from what I understand. So there's no real excuse. I've been in a game with a player like this who actually really like the player, but they do something very similar and they do it every time, and everyone else gets in a mess, everyone else gets put down in the combat, everyone else has to deal with a strategically worse situation because this player will not play as a team player because that's what my character would do. Well, yeah, if your character will never learn and will only do things that screw over your party, then you've not made a very good character. You've made a character that is not a team player. And I think often the contract between players that we won't do PvP and we'll work together, it can, if you're not careful, mean that type of player just gets away with more because they know that you won't do anything about it. And I think, ironically, the only thing that player can probably do, because it sounds like they've talked about it already, is not heal them. If that's what the player needs to understand the consequences, then so be it.
That's the thing. It's not just consequences for that player potentially dying, that player having to be the healer. It's the others, because they're drawn into the fight. They might not be, as you said, it may be a strategically bad decision. And if someone else goes down, the cleric's going to have to choose whether to heal them or you. It makes sense that they're going to pick them. Or what if they can't get to them for some reason? Then you are sort of responsible for having started a fight and a character going down because you just didn't think about whether it was the right time or place for everyone to be in that fight.
Yeah, it wasn't consensual. And you have to remember, if you're consistently doing that, triggering fights that the party don't want to trigger, and let's be honest, we've been there, haven't we, in some of our games, then you're taking away all the other players' agency. You're putting yourself first before all of them. And again, for story purposes, that can be good sometimes. A mistake can be good. But if it's consistently done, then that, I don't know, you need to have a word with that player. And if they can't grasp the concept that they need to consider people out of character as well, then I don't know, maybe it's time for them to find another game, which seems a bit harsh, but if
Why would they keep adventuring together if they like your reliability to us?
Exactly, and that's the thing, that again, that player contract often, you know, we've had it in our games where there was one character who was off the rails a little bit and would kick things off, and you probably remember the game, and it got to the point, and I can't totally get why the player was playing it like they were. There were story reasons and there was plot reasons that they were going that way, but actually it was getting to the point where it didn't make sense that my character was putting up with it. And I'm sure it was the same for other characters. And I remember talking to the player and talking to the GM and saying, look, it's gone past the line now. I'm letting you get away with it because of the out of character contract between players that I'm not going to PvP and I'm not going to step on your toes and spoil your storyline. But my character would walk away from this. He would not keep entertaining this. It goes against all of his values. So you're forcing me to play my character against how he would be.
Sometimes you need to have that above table talk.
You do, and we had to talk, and we sorted it out ultimately.
It sounds like they've had the conversation. I don't know how seriously they've taken it. So maybe we just need to have another conversation. I don't know if it was with just that between those two players or with everybody, because it says that the party's divided on the issue. If they make the point, any of you could go down because of these combats, and that puts all of you at risk. We should all work together here.
Exactly, but why does that character think that they can work solo effectively and do what they want, but then when they need the rest of the party, they come to the rescue, but they can't do it in the other direction? That's the thing that they're not seeing, perhaps. Does it say how old they are? Because I mean, let's be honest, when I was 15 and playing D&D, I probably would not have picked up on this subtlety. When I was younger,
full opportunity to develop your communication and listening, understanding skills by seeing other people's point of views.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And most of the comments are in agreement with us. There's one, I've lost it now. There's one that I just enjoy the way they word it. Wandering Flump says, a quote from the cleric at our table, "I don't heal, stupid."
It's a good response. Yeah.
And some other people pointing out, like the GM can help facilitate this, get some healers kits, make potions more readily available, and make it more of an option for the whole party to have healing available to them.
Yeah.
I like the other petty comments, like just be in wild shape. You can't heal in wild shape. You're a druid. Or druids would say that it's natural when life ends. Why would I bring you back?
Yeah. Evolution suggests that you should not survive. Here is your Darwin Award for removing yourself from the gene pool. Well done.
Girlfriend went to sleep after not being rescued immediately. This is from our D&D and from the user Isaiah Moyo. So, we played Dragons of Ice by a Peak, and we've been looking forward to the final face-off for months since scheduling didn't work out for a while. My players had a decent strategy after walking into ambushes by the dragon. My girlfriend is playing a superhero Monday D. Luffy-like monk, and though she usually criticizes other players for not sticking to a plan, they actually discussed her action. She went to go at the dragon by herself, wanting to cause a distraction / gain the dragon's attention so the others could access his treasure. It didn't work out as planned, and she fell off the cliff. Hanging and getting attacked by the dragon, and falling unconscious. She eventually survived the fall, but the other players found it too dangerous to go find and rescue her since the dragon was still at large and could just pick them off one by one while they went down the cliff looking for her, so they decided to go kill the dragon first. My girlfriend seemed rather pissed at the others for seemingly not wanting to rescue her first, even though the idea was briefly discussed. She left the table being tired and unconvinced that the group was able to kill or survive the dragon before the end of the session, or early enough for her to stay at the table waiting for the rescue. The rest of the group was disappointed by her not wanting to stay. I was also sad, but wasn't going to argue with her, she having made the decision. I could see she was tired and didn't want to stay long being inactive, but I also feel like it was kind of disrespectful towards the others.
So I can see both sides of this. As a GM, I get frustrated and sometimes I would even say annoyed, although I try not to show it, when players aren't engaged. You know, they kind of withdraw. It is frustrating. But at the same time, if you're not taking part in the game, well, you can kind of understand where that player's like, well, I am not in the game. I am excluded. I am effectively excluded because my party have decided not to rescue me, but to go and fight the dragon on their own.
The first part of this edit is we talked and she said that she wouldn't have cared about not being rescued if it hadn't been for the final battle to take place.
Yeah, you've excluded her before the end, and I think this goes back to the player contract. She does seem to have a very firm idea about how things should be done, and it's not worked in this case. But that's an in-character decision that has taken away her ability to take part. And it kind of almost feels a bit mean. What you expect her to be excluded, but then sit there and watch you all play for the next hour.
Be excited and into it, and yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No, we had that in our recent game, didn't we? We had two players who were dead. let's say it how it is. And it could have been very easy for them to just log off or go and do something else, turn the cameras off and leave. But I did make an effort, even though they were dead, to give them some little scenes of them passing over. You know, I think one of our players was really good at inputting stuff indirectly. So like you finding books and finding files and things that gave you a bit of insight.
I'm doing that consciously because I'm aware they're sat there waiting and we don't want to rush into, and suddenly this person appears. You also want to honor their character by seeing the impact that they've left, or I do anyway as a player.
I mean, I would flip this with the other players. You know, they're all annoyed that she's left. Just say to them, well, how would you feel if for the final battle your character was told that he wasn't there? You know, it does happen. It's the nature of the game. It's why it's good to have a backup. But it just takes a little bit of empathy and a little bit of compassion to realise that, yeah, that player's been excluded from the finale of the game. And I think, to be fair, them just going and having a nap and going to sleep is better than them having an argument or shouting and bawling, isn't it? They've actually
themselves from the situation.
They've removed themselves from a situation that's clearly upset them, and everyone else is just thinks that that person is obliged to sit there and watch them play. I think it's a bit of a lack of empathy there.
What I would argue for is that the GM would see that no one, when they settle on that idea, they're going to fight the dragon anyway, make it signpost, make it very obvious if you have to, that they don't need to have this fight right now. The dragon can be distracted by something, or I know we don't like to break immersion, but maybe it's a point in the game where you say stop and say, we want X to be involved, so this is what we could do. If the players really aren't helping, then the GM, but the GM can see that they're upset, then they can facilitate that. And they do say in the edit, I had actually created a setting for them to distract the dragon in order to rescue her, but they either weren't aware or didn't consider it. So it just sounds like they potentially weren't signposting it well. And they do say later on, I've been a DM for about a year now. I can see there's a lot to be learned.
Yeah, a year GMing is not a long time. You really, if you want players to know something is there, you really have to like point at it with flashing neon lights and like, it's here. You know, you have to be really blatant. Not otherwise the players will miss it. You know, the GM can get creative. If it's the same dragon that they're going to fight, well, who's to say that dragon hasn't took her body to where they fight her? So she is there unconscious or on one hit point, and they can, you know, by helping her, healing her, they can sort of add her to the battle and get her included again. And it kind of raises the stakes, makes it a bit more exciting, but more importantly, that player's back in the game. So again, after a year, I probably wouldn't have thought of that, but I think part of GMing, is planning, but another part is being fluid and being adaptive and saying, okay, and if you need 10 minutes to think about it, take 10 minutes to think about it, have a break. There's a good video on DM's Lair about GMing that I think I saw today, talking about how players often go where you don't expect them to. And he put in words what I think I do anyway, but sometimes it's like, well, I've got this dungeon set up for them to go into, but they've decided to go to this place that I wasn't expecting whatsoever. You can kind of lift and shift, or just take 5 minutes while the players are role playing. Just sit there, and you probably don't notice it. Maybe you do. Sometimes when you do something I'm not expecting, I am literally making notes. I'm Googling. I'm trying to figure out what I can do to adapt to what you've done on the fly. So sometimes when you all make jokes and stuff and I just completely miss it, it's probably because I'm like processing.
Yeah.
I'm processing. I'm figuring out.
I'm so glad they're role playing right now, because I really need to figure out what they're going to do, what I'm going to do here, what I'm going to present them with, because I wasn't considering that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
You have to be fluid. You have to be adaptive, and it is really, really difficult. I've definitely been just thrown when I started GMing and not known what to do, and just froze.
It's hard.
So, yeah.
But the more you do it, the easier it gets.
It also sounds like they've also said that they're going to now have a conversation about how they play as a group going forward in the future.
Well, that's a sign of a good group, because you hopefully will learn from that. You will take forward what you discuss. You will consider each other.
I quite like this comment from Shadow Woman 2018. Even major podcasts and shows with high-profile players send them away from the table when they have nothing to do, even Critical Role. I'm just saying everyone's time is valuable.
Yeah.
That was what I call the working title for the episode, Players That Don't Work Together.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching, and if you've enjoyed this, please don't forget to like and subscribe. You can also join the live chat on Twitch at Bonus Action Heroes. If you want to suggest Reddit stories to cover, please comment below or join our Discord linked in the description.